It is now Saturday morning, late morning, possibly afternoon. Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel, Read, Share, Repeat, where we discuss books from the perspective of an aspiring fantasy author, me, Carrie Share. Well, today is the start of our first reading vlog for this channel and the first reading vlog of 2025. If you watched my last video, you know I have a pretty ambitious reading goal, and what you may not know is January was my best reading month in 2024. So I figure the best way to get this year kicked off is with a really strong week of reading. I've got 2 books that I want to finish this week, and I would like to pick up a third before the week is through. The first being The Last Graduate by Naomi Novik. I've mentioned it a few times by now, but I started this book back in October, was hit with a really horrible depressive episode, which robbed me of my desire to read or do much of anything really, and then I was never able to quite get back to it. It's no fault of the book. In fact, I have really been enjoying the series so far. There has just been something about it that has made me not want to pick up a physical book, or at least one that I was already in the middle of. But I am pushing myself over the hump. My plan is to have this through by the end of the weekend. It is currently Thursday. I have less than 200 pages left. There is no reason I can't get this done really by like tomorrow night even. So my goal is to finish this one first. If and when I do finish it, I would like to pick up A Study in Drowning by Ava Reid. This was my random draw for the month of December, but again, I just never got around to it. I have heard that it is an excellent read for the winter atmosphere, so I'm looking forward to settling in and getting this one started as well. So those are my 2 physical reads. I'm also planning on making headway in my audiobook, Trial of the Sun Queen by Nisha J. Tooley. I don't plan on finishing this one this week, but I do want to make some big progress. This will be my first week going to the gym, and in the past, I've gotten a lot of audiobook listening done while working out. So hoping to make progress at least there. And then finally, the other book that I would like to actually finish this week is The Bridge Kingdom by Daniel L. Jensen. I just started it. I'm just over 10% of the way through, and I think I'm enjoying it, kind of. I already see some areas where it's not my favorite. In some ways, I'm trying to turn off my brain and just enjoy it, but on the other hand, this is the first book that is going to go into my reading journal of the year. I mentioned it in my last video, but this year I really want to take journaling about the books I'm reading seriously, and this will be the first test. I made a little spread, as you can see, the title, the cover, which accidentally covered up the title, and then just some metadata, the author, the release date, the publisher, how many pages, the format I'm reading it in, where I got it, in this case from the library, when I'm starting it, when I'm going to finish it, and if I complete it or not. And then I'm writing down my thoughts at the 10% mark, the 25% mark, the 50% mark, and the 100% mark, and then I will do a call pile breakdown. And my plan is to do this for every single book I read this year. I'm not going back and doing the books I've already started. That would be too prohibitive. So that makes The Bridge Kingdom the very first one. So I'm excited about this process. I really hope it helps me read more deeply, even the books I'm not annotating, like in this case, it's a library book. So far I'm having fun with it. I'll have more thoughts on that later, I'm sure, but those are my plans for this week. Finish at least The Bridge Kingdom and The Last Graduate, get started on A Study in Drowning, and make some headway in Trial of the Sun Queen. So I'm actually going to go get in bed now and do a little bit of reading of The Last Graduate. Hello everyone, it is now Friday evening, and last night after I turned the camera off, I got in bed and I picked up The Last Graduate by Naomi Novik, and I read like 80 pages. So I am now up to the 70% mark. I have just over 100 pages left, and I feel really, really, really bad that I let this book wither on my desk for so long, because I really do love this character, Elle, and the emotional journey that she's going on. I love seeing characters who are kind of dark, have their own darkness. In this case, Elle has a particular brand of magic that is kind of evil, and that aura like affects how people see her and view her and interact with her. So she is very prickly and kind of chafes at people, but like throughout the course of the last book and this book, she is learning how to love people, not like romantically, but platonically, and like have friends and exist in a community. And I just love it so much. This is like a trope that I have recently discovered I am like so in love with, and it's really bearing out in this latter half of this book. So my plan tonight is to finish The Last Graduate. Like I said, I have just over 100 pages. It is currently 10 o'clock, so read about 50 pages an hour, but Naomi Novik's writing is a little bit denser. She doesn't have as much dialogue as I'm used to reading, and that makes it a little bit harder to get through. So I think last night I read 40 pages an hour, so this could take me into the wee hours of the morning, but my goal is to finish The Last Graduate tonight. I won't be updating you tonight. I'll probably do that first thing in the morning. If I do manage to finish, my goal is to then pick up A Study in Drowning by Ava Reed. That being said, I do have some plans tomorrow. I'm taking my daughter shopping to spend some of her Christmas money. And one of the stops I'm planning on making is to Half Price Books because I deserve a little treat too. So the last couple of times I've gone to Half Price, they've had a really great selection. I've picked up at least 5 books the last 2 times I've been there. I'm looking forward to seeing what they have available. So I'll do a little haul for you guys. I don't know how much reading I will be doing tomorrow because I'm trying to do a ton of writing this weekend. If you follow me over on my writing channel, you know that it is a 10K weekend. This weekend, a couple of others are hosting live streams throughout the weekend to try and hit 10,000 words in a weekend. And I am so on board. I'm trying really hard to keep up with that pace. So I don't know how much more reading I will get done this weekend. I also need to make progress in The Bridge Kingdom by Danielle L. Jensen. I did get to almost the 30% mark today, but I'm not going to be talking about it too much because I am going to be doing a dedicated review later this month on this book for my Behind the Bandwagon series. That's right. I realized that it qualifies. I haven't done a Behind the Bandwagon in a while, but basically to qualify for that series, the book has to be at least 5 years old, have at least a 4-star rating on Goodreads with at least 100,000 reviews. So The Bridge Kingdom qualifies, so I'm going to be doing a dedicated review of that book once I finish it. So I'm not going to discuss it too much here, but I did make it to about the 30% mark. And it has to go back to the library soon, so I need to finish that. But those are my plans. Get in bed, finish The Last Graduate, and I will check in with you probably in the morning once that is done. Hey y'all, just checking in with a quick reading update. It is now Saturday morning, late morning, possibly afternoon. And late last night, as promised, I did finish The Last Graduate by Naomi Novik. And obviously I can't talk about this book too much because it is the second book of a series, but what I will say is that I think I liked this book even more than the first one, even though it took me quite a bit longer to finish. I started it, I checked my history and I started it on October 2nd. So it took me 3 months to finish, but I did really like it. Especially this last part of the book, which I mentioned yesterday, really featured Elle's development and her friendships and her relationship with the people inside the school and her sense of self and identity and how she can move through the world and be a part of it without feeling completely separate from it and completely ostracized. And that, I just loved it so much. And of course the ending, I was so tempted to just go over to my bookshelf and pick up the next one right away, but I'm gonna let this one digest a little bit. But yeah, I really liked it. I'm thinking about a 4.5 for this one because I started it already at the halfway point. I'm not counting this in my reading journal, and I'm only gonna count the pages that I read after the new year towards my reading goal. But oh my gosh, I really enjoyed this. This series has been such a surprise for me. I really did not think I would enjoy it as much as I have. Yeah, definitely finishing the Sholomance series is going to be a top priority going into the year, but not yet. Gonna let it sit. For now, I am going to go to the bookstore. My daughter and I have some plans to go shopping together. She's got some Christmas money and I've got some money and we are just gonna go do some shopping. We're probably gonna hit the thrift store. She wants to go to the toy store and books. So I will We'll let you know when we get back what my haul was. Hello everyone. It is now Sunday evening and I have just gotten to the 25, more like 30% mark of A Study in Drowning by Ava Reid. And I have some thoughts. The most immediate being is that this is so readable. I was at like page 20 or 25, maybe 29 when I started, and I was able to get to 129 really, really easily. It didn't feel like I was straining myself. It didn't feel like I was I was like glazing over or having to go back and reread passages. I was just really like, I get it, but not in a way that feels dumbed down or juvenile. It's just very like plain, not plain. It's not even plain. It's just very easy to read and understand and get into. So while I don't think that I can say just yet that I love this book, I am liking it. And I do appreciate that it is really, really easy for me to get through, to the point where I think I could probably finish this in like 2 more days. I do, of course, have to go back to work tomorrow, so I won't be doing quite as much reading. I'm already up to like the 120. So I only need 250 more pages. And with how easy it was to get through 100 pages today, I think I could probably do 125 tomorrow and 125 Tuesday. We'll see, but I love that. I love that I'm just flying through it. As for the substance, something I think Ava Reid has really done well in this book is writing anxiety, or writing about like the feeling, about the trauma that someone has been through. The main character in this book has experienced, shortly before the events of this book, the main character experienced a sexual assault. And while it's not explicitly spelled out for us on the page, the way that she experiences like the memories and like the flashes of memory, and like how she tries to avoid it and how it is unavoidable, and how the whole world around her seems to be keyed in on that traumatic experience to her, and just the anxiety around the event and how she is perceived and how it has colored her interactions with other people is, I think, really, really, really well done. I like feel anxious. I have been feeling anxious just reading those passages. So I think one of Ava Reid's strength is in evoking the emotion she intends. And I really appreciate that, especially since, like I said, it is such a easy to digest narration. The plot, I think, is fine. I'm not like super invested in it either way. I just got to like the moment where like the action really is starting to kick off. The moment where she's like taking an action that she would not have expected to do. And so I think the middle part of this book is probably gonna pick up the pace a little bit, and I'm really, really intrigued. I'm liking it. I can't say that I'm loving it just yet. And something else is like, I've been tabbing a little bit. It's one of those books where I don't feel like I need to really. Like, I just get it. I don't need to tab anything and come back and later to look at it. So I've just been trying to tab moments that I feel like define Effie's character, or things that seem mysterious. There have been a couple of lines that I felt like really resonated with me that I tabbed, but it's nothing like, this seems like a mystery, or this seems confusing, or this seems like something I want to go back and reread. I better tab it. I just thought it was interesting that like I wasn't like reaching for my tabs every other page like I feel like I had in the past with some of the other annotations I've done. That is it for my reading update for the day. Tomorrow, I'm gonna try and plug away at The Bridge Kingdom a little bit more. My goal is to be at the 50% mark of that book before the end of the day. Where am I at now? I am currently at the 30% mark of The Bridge Kingdom. So I would need to read less than 100 pages tomorrow to get to the 50% mark. Ideally, I would finish both of these books over the next couple of days, but again, we'll just have to see how everything plays out with a storm and with work and the kids going back to school. I would love to have them both finished by Tuesday so I could wrap up this vlog having finished 2.5 books. Wouldn't that be something to do 2.5 books in a single fucking week? That is for future Carrie to try and attain. For now, I am going to hop in the shower and maybe I will get some more reading done of A Study in Drowning. Hey y'all, just checking in with a quick reading update before I go to bed. Today I hit the 50% mark of The Bridge Kingdom and about the 42, 45-ish% mark of A Study in Drowning. And what I will say is that my feeling on these two books could not be more different. I am kind of dreading picking up The Bridge Kingdom, and I can't stop thinking about A Study in Drowning. I want to be reading it right now, actually. I wish I could have read more today, but it was a very long day for some reason. It is Monday the 6th here, and it's Monday the 6th everywhere, except for with time zones. And as most of America is, we were preparing for this big winter storm that's coming up later this week, except I live in North Texas, and we are not really equipped for this kind of weather. Our roads are not winterized, our vehicles are not winterized, it's a big mess. So at work especially, we were like scrambling to figure out how to reschedule all of the events that we had already planned for Thursday and Friday, and it's just been kind of stressful. And then it's also the first day of my new term at school, and like it's back to swimming lessons, and I had a video to edit, and it's just been a long day. So like I said, The Bridge Kingdom, I'm at 50%, and I really just started reading. I wouldn't say I'm skimming, but I'm not reading very closely anymore, just so I could get through it faster. I want the fantasy elements to be good. I'm like, I can feel a little like hint of something that I would like in it. I like political intrigue, and I like complicated like politics, and that is a feature of this world, but it's not enough, and it's not well thought out enough for me to be like, oh yes, I'm interested again. And also, like, I had heard this was like kind of a steamy romantasy, and we had like one scene at the beginning that was kind of steamy and nothing since. And I'm just like, okay, well, if you're gonna be boring with the politics, give me like hot romance, and I'm not getting either. I don't know that I would say I'm enjoying it. I'm getting through it is what I am. I am bound and determined to not start my year off with a DNF, so I will be finishing it. I don't know that I'll be finishing it tomorrow like I hoped, but I will be finishing it. As for A Study in Drowning, it continues to be very compulsively readable. Ava Reed's writing continues to just be it's pulling on an interior part of me that I don't know that I've felt, at least not in a while, but it is not in the same way that I would think of like when I think of Red Sister. With Red Sister, I liked that story, I liked that world, I liked the characters, but it was also Mark Lawrence's writing that really impacted me. I'm not feeling the same impact, but I am feeling the same, like the way that she's writing about the anxiety and all of the like internal turmoil that the main character Effie is feeling, not just about her sexual assault, but also feeling and being made to feel like she is crazy because she has apparently had hallucinations in the past, and being a woman in a world where women are still not allowed to even study literature because it is too high-minded for women in this world. And so she's very much discriminated against because of her sex, and so like the anxiety that she is feeling, like, and any time a character calls her beautiful, and it's happened numerous times from numerous characters, she associates that with her sexual assault, and I'm like tensing up with her. So I'm really like I said, I don't know that I'm impacted. I'm not like completely like changing my brain chemistry in the same way that like a Red Sister or a Fifth Season did, but I still feel pulled by it, and I'm really enjoying it. That one I will try and finish tomorrow if I can help it. That's my reading update. I would love to get in bed and read more, but unfortunately I have just had too much to do today, and now my brain feels like a wrung sponge, and I'm going to get in bed and go to sleep instead. I have to get up at my normal time of 6:30 again because the kids are back in school, which means I have to do the school run so I don't get the extra half hour of sleep like I normally do. I will check in with you tomorrow on the final day of this first week of reading of 2025 and let you know where I end up. Hey y'all, it is now Tuesday evening, and you guys are going to be proud of me because today not only did I finish one book, I finished 2 books. That's right, 2 books in one day. And what's even more impressive is that I was at like the 50% mark of both of them. The first book I finished was, of course, The Bridge Kingdom, which I'm not going to talk too much about because I am going to have a dedicated review of it later this month. But the short of it is I didn't like it. And I honestly think this is kind of the last gasp of trying romantasy for me because it isn't what I'm looking for. And I had even gone into this book knowing that it was going to be heavier on the romance and lighter on the fantasy elements and plot. And I was hoping for something more akin to Danielle L. Jensen's more recent release of Fate, Inked in Blood, because I really did like the romance of that. And unfortunately, it fell flat, even in the romance area. So it just ended up being a big disappointment for me. But like I said, I'm going to have a more detailed review and kind of go through my thoughts in a Behind the Bandwagon book review later this month. So look forward to that. And the second book I finished, my cat just stepped on, so I'm going to wait for him to move. Can I have this, please? A Study in Drowning by Ava Reid. Quite the opposite to The Bridge Kingdom. I really liked this. I haven't done my call pile yet, but it's feeling like a high 4, maybe 4.5. And I was thinking about it. I was writing about it in my journal at the 50% mark that I almost didn't care as much about the story in this one because I was just so invested. What ghost did you see? Because I was just so invested in Effie as a character and her kind of emotional, journey is such an overused word, but like just what she was dealing with and going through in her self-discovery and learning about all of the ways that the people in her life failed her. And yet she is still trying. She's still pretty funny and has friends and passions, and she doesn't let the horrible things that have happened to her, erase her out of existence. And I just found that to be really just striking, and I enjoyed it. In fact, when it got to the end of the book and the plot part was picking up more, I was kind of wishing it would slow down a little to account more for the way that Effie was navigating it emotionally. It did a good job. I'm not mad at it for sure, but it was just funny to me that the plot part almost was irrelevant to me in light of Effie as a character. I really, really enjoyed it. I'm really glad that I finally made myself read it. It's one of those books where as soon as you lay it down, you want to pick something else because it makes you feel something about the written word. It makes you feel something about fiction. It makes you feel something about reading as a hobby and as a passion. And I've just recently learned that it apparently is getting a sequel. And I learned that before I finished the book. But when I finished it, I can see why. And if you haven't read this book, just skip ahead. I'm not going to go into spoilers, but it's irrelevant to you. Am I the only one who didn't really get that part? The very last paragraph features a theme throughout the book, a motif that is continually referenced. And when I read it, I was like, oh, that must be what is the jumping off point for book 2 that I didn't know existed until recently. But also I was just like, I don't get why it's significant. What was the theme again? What was the motif for? And I had to go back and find the first mention of it in the book, and I was still I don't get why this is important. But I guess we'll find out in book 2. So that wraps up my first week of reading. And can you believe it? I finished 3 books in 1 week. Now, granted, one of them I had already started. Still, finished 3 books, started and finished 2 books, a total of 974 pages, which I'm pretty proud of. I don't anticipate maintaining that kind of pace throughout the rest of the year, even since a lot of this week was spent without my school obligations, and there was a holiday, of course. So, and while I did have a book that I didn't like, I did finish 2 books that I really did like. So counterbalance. Thank you so much for watching. I so appreciate it. If you like my content and want to support the channel, please like and subscribe. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, leave me a wave emoji for A Study in Drowning. And also kind of the Bridge Kingdom. In my next video, I will have my unfinished business video, a review of all the series I have started and sadly not finished. I hope you look forward to it, and I will see you then.